Dr. Marcus Reed had been studying the strange formations on Kepler-442b for 3 months, and he was no closer to understanding them than when he first arrived. The planet's surface was covered with what appeared to be simple molehills, millions of them, scattered across the landscape like a vast alien cemetery. But Marcus knew better. These weren't natural formations. "The quantum resonance patterns are off the charts," reported his assistant, Dr. Sarah Kim, as she emerged from the latest survey tunnel. "Whatever created these structures, it's operating on principles we don't understand." Marcus nodded, wiping sweat from his brow as he examined the latest readings. The mining operation on Kepler-442b had been established to extract rare quantum crystals, but they had stumbled onto something far more significant. The molehills weren't just random geological formations. They were components of a vast machine that spanned the entire planet. "The energy readings are increasing," Dr. Kim continued. "It's almost as if the molehills are charging up." The thought sent a chill down Marcus's spine. For the past week, the molehills had been showing increased activity, their internal structures pulsing with energy that defied conventional physics. The quantum crystals that the mining operation had been extracting were somehow connected to the molehills, and disturbing them was causing the entire system to activate. "Get me a connection to the orbital station," Marcus ordered. "We need to report this to the Intergalactic Empire immediately." The transmission to the orbital station took several minutes to establish. When the connection finally came through, the face of Commander Thane appeared on the screen, a grizzled orc whose scarred features spoke of decades of service in the Empire's expansion forces. "What's the situation down there, Dr. Reed?" Commander Thane asked, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had seen too many worlds and too many wars. "The molehills are artificial," Marcus replied without preamble. "They're part of some kind of planetary system that's been dormant for millennia. Our mining operations have awakened it." Commander Thane's expression darkened. "What kind of system?" "Unknown, but it's operating on quantum principles we don't understand. The power levels are incredible. Each molehill contains enough energy to level a city." "Weapons?" "Possibly," Marcus said. "But I don't think that's their primary function. The energy patterns suggest they're designed for something else. Something that requires enormous amounts of power." Commander Thane was quiet for a moment, his red eyes studying the data that Marcus had transmitted. The orc had commanded mining operations on dozens of worlds, and he had learned to recognize the signs of ancient technology. "How many molehills are we talking about?" he asked finally. "Approximately 40 million, Marcus replied. "Scattered across the entire planet's surface." The number seemed to stagger the orc commander. 40 million? That's planetary-scale engineering. What civilization could build something like that? "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "But whoever built it, they're long gone. The molehills have been dormant for at least 1,000,000 years. And now they're waking up? It looks that way. The quantum resonance patterns are becoming more coherent, more organized. It's as if the entire planet is coming back to life." Commander Thane made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Cease all mining operations immediately. Evacuate all personnel to the orbital station. And get me a priority channel to Imperial Command." The evacuation of Kepler-442b proceeded smoothly, but Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The molehills were definitely activating, their energy signatures growing stronger with each passing hour. Whatever the ancient civilization had built, it was preparing to resume its original function. "Dr. Reed," called Chief Engineer Voss as they boarded the evacuation shuttle. "You need to see this." Marcus followed the engineer to the shuttle's sensor array, where a holographic display showed the planet's surface in real time. The molehills were glowing now, their internal structures pulsing with rhythmic energy that was visible even from orbit. "It's beautiful," Dr. Kim whispered. She was right. The planet's surface had become a constellation of light, with patterns of energy flowing between the molehills like a vast neural network. It was clearly artificial, but it was also magnificent, a testament to the engineering capabilities of a civilization that had vanished long before humans had even evolved. What do you think it's for? Chief Engineer Voss asked. Marcus studied the patterns, his mind racing through the possibilities. The energy flows were too organized to be random, too complex to be simple storage or transmission. The molehills were components of a machine, but what kind of machine required 40 million components distributed across an entire planet? I think, Marcus said slowly, that we're looking at a faster-than-light communication system. The implications were staggering. If the molehills were components of an FTL communication system, then the civilization that built them had solved one of the fundamental problems of interstellar civilizations: the speed of light barrier. Information could be transmitted instantly across vast distances, allowing for real-time coordination of activities across multiple star systems. But that's impossible, Dr. Kim objected. The speed of light is absolute. Nothing can travel faster than light. Nothing made of matter, Marcus corrected. But quantum entanglement operates instantaneously across any distance. If you could entangle enough particles, create a network of quantum connections spanning multiple worlds, you could communicate faster than light. Chief Engineer Voss finished. My God, do you realize what this means? Marcus nodded grimly. If the ancient civilization had developed FTL communication, it would have given them an enormous advantage in coordinating their activities across the galaxy. But it would also have made them a target for any other civilization that wanted to control that technology. We need to study this system, Marcus said. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to replicate it. The orbital station buzzed with activity as the evacuation was completed and the scientific team began their analysis of the planet's mysterious machine. The molehills continued to pulse with energy, their patterns becoming more complex and organized with each passing hour. The power requirements are incredible, reported Dr. Kim. The entire planet's core is being used as a power source. The molehills are tapping directly into the planet's rotational energy. That's why there are 40 million of them, Marcus realized. They need to distribute the load across the entire planetary surface. Any fewer, and the planet would be torn apart by the energy extraction. The scope of the ancient civilization's engineering was becoming clear. They had turned an entire planet into a component of their communication network, using the planet's own mass and rotation as a power source. It was a level of planetary engineering that the intergalactic empire had never even attempted. Sir, came a voice from the communication station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Imperial Command. Admiral Crow wants to speak with you immediately. Marcus made his way to the communications center, where the imposing figure of Admiral Crow appeared on the main screen. The human admiral was known throughout the Empire as a brilliant strategist and a ruthless commander, someone who had carved out vast territories for the Empire through a combination of military prowess and political cunning. Dr. Reed, Admiral Crow began. I've reviewed your reports on the Kepler-442b discovery. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for. Breakthrough, sir? The Empire has been struggling with the coordination problem for decades, Admiral Crow explained. As we expand across the galaxy, the speed of light barrier makes it increasingly difficult to maintain centralized control. Orders take years to reach distant systems, and intelligence reports are obsolete by the time they arrive. Marcus nodded. It was a problem that every interstellar civilization faced. The galaxy was simply too big for effective real-time communication using conventional means. Even the Empire's most advanced quantum communication systems were limited by the speed of light. If we can reverse engineer this FTL communication system, Admiral Crow continued, we could revolutionize the Empire's ability to coordinate activities across the galaxy. We could respond to threats instantly, coordinate military operations in real time, and maintain centralized control over our territory. There's a problem, sir, Marcus said. The system requires planetary-scale engineering. Each communication node needs an entire planet's worth of infrastructure to function. Then we'll build it, Admiral Crow said simply. The Empire has the resources and the will to undertake such a project. What we need is the knowledge of how to do it. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the sensor station. Sir, the sensor officer reported. The planet's energy emissions are spiking. Something's happening. Marcus rushed to the sensor display, where he could see the molehills pulsing with increasing intensity. The energy patterns were becoming more coherent, more organized, as if the system was approaching some kind of critical threshold. It's fully activated, Dr. Kim reported. The entire planetary network is online. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Space around Kepler-442b began to distort, creating ripples in the fabric of reality itself. The molehills weren't just communicating, they were manipulating space-time, creating portals that connected to other locations across the galaxy. My God, Marcus whispered. It's not just a communication system. It's a portal network. The implications were staggering. If the ancient civilization had built a network of planets like Kepler-442b, they would have been able to travel instantly between star systems. The speed of light barrier would have been meaningless to them. They could have accessed any part of the galaxy in real time. We need to study this, Admiral Crow said, his voice tight with excitement. If we can understand how this portal network operates, we could revolutionize interstellar travel. But their excitement was short-lived. The portals that were opening around Kepler-442b were not empty. Something was coming through them. And that something was not friendly. Contact, reported the tactical officer. Unknown vessels emerging from the portals. The ships that emerged from the portals were unlike anything in the Empire's database. They were organic in appearance, their hulls covered with growths that pulsed with their own inner light. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested they were more alive than artificial, and they radiated a malevolent intelligence that made the crew of the orbital station instinctively reach for their weapons. They're not responding to our hails, the communications officer reported. But they're definitely scanning us. Weapon status? Admiral Crow asked. The unknown vessels are armed, the tactical officer replied. Energy weapons of unknown design, but extremely powerful. They could destroy the station with a single volley. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The ancient portal network was operational, but it was bringing with it something that the original civilization had been trying to keep out. The molehills weren't just a communication system, they were a defense network, designed to prevent something from entering the galaxy. Admiral, Marcus said urgently, I don't think these are friendly visitors. The portal network was designed to keep them out, not let them in. What do you mean? The molehills were a quarantine system, Marcus explained. The ancient civilization built them to prevent these things from entering our galaxy. When we started mining the quantum crystals, we disrupted the quarantine. The unknown vessels began to move toward the orbital station, their organic hulls rippling with energy. They were clearly hostile, and they were approaching with the confidence of predators who had found new prey. All stations battle alert, Admiral Crow ordered. Prepare for combat. But the orbital station was a mining facility, not a military installation. Its defenses were minimal, designed to deal with pirates and raiders, not with advanced alien warships. The crew knew they were outmatched, but they also knew their duty. The first exchange of fire confirmed their worst fears. The unknown vessel's weapons were far more advanced than anything the Empire possessed. They punched through the station's shields as if they were made of paper, and their organic hulls absorbed the Empire's return fire without apparent damage. We can't fight them, Commander Thane reported. Our weapons are having no effect. Then we run, Admiral Crow said grimly. All ships, emergency evacuation. Get everyone off the station. The evacuation was chaotic but effective. The Empire's personnel managed to escape in their ships just as the unknown vessels destroyed the orbital station. But the threat was far from over. The portals were still open, and more hostile vessels were emerging from them. Sir, Marcus said as they fled the system, the portal network is still active. Those things are going to spread throughout the galaxy. Then we need to find a way to stop them, Admiral Crow replied. What do you need? Marcus thought quickly. The portal network was incredibly complex, operating on principles that were barely understood. But it was also ancient, and like all ancient systems, it might have weaknesses that could be exploited. I need access to the Imperial archives, Marcus said. And I need to contact every xenoarchaeologist in the Empire. If there are other worlds with molehill formations, we need to find them. Why? Because, Marcus said, if the ancient civilization built one quarantine system, they might have built others. And if we can understand how they work, we might be able to reactivate them. The race against time began immediately. As the unknown vessels spread throughout the galaxy, Imperial forces scrambled to find and study other examples of the ancient civilization's technology. The search revealed a disturbing pattern. Dozens of worlds had molehill formations, and many of them were showing signs of activation. The entire galaxy is waking up, Dr. Kim reported from the research vessel Discovery. The portal network isn't limited to a single world. It's a galaxy-spanning system. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. If the ancient civilization had built a galaxy-spanning portal network, then the threat they were trying to contain was equally vast. The unknown vessels were not just a single fleet, they were the advance guard of something much worse. We need to find the control center, Marcus said. There has to be a central hub that coordinates the entire network. The search for the network's control center took them to the galactic core, where ancient civilizations had once built their greatest works. It was a dangerous region, filled with radiation and gravitational anomalies that made navigation treacherous. But it was also where they were most likely to find the answers they needed. There, Dr. Kim said, pointing to a star system that was surrounded by artificial structures. That's it. That's the control center. The structures around the star were unlike anything they had ever seen. They were massive, dwarfing even the largest Imperial installations, and they were clearly designed to harness the star's energy for some incredible purpose. It's a Dyson sphere, Marcus realized. They built a Dyson sphere around the star to power the portal network. The implications were staggering. The ancient civilization had been capable of engineering on a scale that the Empire couldn't even imagine. They had harnessed the power of an entire star to maintain their quarantine system, keeping the unknown threat locked out of the galaxy for millions of years. And we broke it, Marcus said grimly. When we started mining the quantum crystals, we disrupted the network's power supply. The Dyson sphere was damaged, its surface pockmarked with holes and structural failures. The ancient civilization was gone, but their greatest work was still functional, barely. We need to repair it, Dr. Kim said. If we can restore the Dyson sphere's power output, we might be able to reactivate the quarantine system. But the task seemed impossible. The Dyson sphere was millions of kilometers in diameter, and the repairs would require resources and technology that the Empire didn't possess. It would take decades, maybe centuries, to complete the work. We don't have decades, Marcus said. The unknown vessels are already spreading throughout the galaxy. It was then that Commander Thane made an unexpected suggestion. What if we don't try to repair the entire system? What if we just focus on the most critical components? Marcus considered the idea. The Dyson sphere was designed to provide power to the entire portal network, but not all of the portals were equally important. If they could identify the key nodes and focus their repairs on those, they might be able to create a partial quarantine. It might work, Marcus said. But we need to identify which portals are the most critical, and we need to do it quickly. The analysis took days, but eventually they identified 17 portal nodes that were central to the network's operation. If they could repair the Dyson sphere's power systems enough to support those 17 nodes, they might be able to contain the threat. It's still a massive undertaking, Dr. Kim warned. We're talking about repairs on a scale that's never been attempted. Then we'll need help, Marcus said. Contact every species in the Empire. We need every ship, every resource, every piece of technology we can get. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The threat posed by the unknown vessels was clear to everyone. If they weren't stopped, they would consume the entire galaxy. Species that had been enemies for centuries put aside their differences to work on the repairs. Orc warships worked alongside human research vessels. Zephyrian engineers collaborated with Krallite technicians. Even the normally reclusive crystalline collective contributed their advanced materials science to the effort. It's working, Dr. Kim reported as the repairs progressed. The Dyson sphere's power output is increasing. We're approaching the minimum threshold for quarantine activation. But the unknown vessels were not passive. They seemed to understand what the Empire was trying to do, and they began to coordinate their attacks on the repair effort. The battles around the Dyson sphere were unlike anything in the Empire's history, desperate struggles between forces that represented different approaches to existence itself. They're not just trying to stop us, Commander Thane observed. They're trying to prevent us from understanding the technology. Marcus nodded. The unknown vessels were clearly intelligent, and they understood the threat that the restored quarantine would pose to them. They were fighting not just for territory, but for the right to exist in the galaxy. We're running out of time, Admiral Crow reported. The unknown vessels are massing for a major assault. If they can destroy the Dyson sphere, the quarantine will be permanently disabled. The final battle was fought in the shadow of the ancient star, with the damaged Dyson sphere serving as both battlefield and prize. The Empire's forces fought with desperate courage, knowing that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Power levels are critical, Dr. Kim reported. If we can hold them off for just a few more minutes, the quarantine will be active. The unknown vessels threw everything they had at the repair effort, their organic weapons systems creating wounds in spacetime itself. But the Empire's forces held, protected by the combined might of dozens of species working in perfect coordination. Quarantine activation in 10 seconds, Marcus announced. All ships prepare for quantum cascade. The quarantine system activated with a flash of light that was visible across the galaxy. The 17 critical portal nodes suddenly shut down, cutting off the unknown vessel's connection to their home dimension. The threat was contained, but the cost had been enormous. Casualty report, Admiral Crow requested. 43 ships lost, Commander Thane reported. Approximately 15,000 personnel. But the quarantine is holding. Marcus felt the weight of those losses, but he also felt a sense of accomplishment. They had succeeded in reactivating the ancient quarantine system, preventing the unknown vessels from spreading throughout the galaxy. But the victory was bittersweet. They had also gained access to technology that could revolutionize the Empire's capabilities. What about the portal network? Admiral Crow asked. Can we use it for our own purposes? Marcus considered the question carefully. The portal network was incredibly powerful, but it was also dangerous. The ancient civilization had built it as a defensive system, not as a tool for expansion. We could, Marcus said finally. But it would require enormous resources and careful management. The system is designed to maintain quarantine barriers, not to facilitate travel. But it could be modified? Possibly. But we need to understand the technology much better before we attempted any modifications. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the sensor station. Sir, the sensor officer reported. We're detecting quantum fluctuations from the sealed portal nodes. Something's trying to break through. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The quarantine was holding, but the unknown vessels were still trying to find a way into the galaxy. The ancient civilization had built their defensive system well, but it was not impregnable. How long will the quarantine hold? Admiral Crow asked. Unknown, Marcus replied. The system is ancient and damaged. It might last for millennia, or it might fail tomorrow. The implications were clear. The Empire had gained access to incredible technology, but they had also inherited the responsibility of maintaining the quarantine. They would need to study the ancient systems, repair the damage, and prepare for the possibility that the unknown vessels might eventually find a way through. We need to establish a permanent monitoring station, Marcus said. And we need to continue studying the portal network. The more we understand about it, the better we can defend against future threats. The years that followed saw the Empire transformed by their encounter with the ancient technology. The portal network remained sealed, but the knowledge gained from studying it revolutionized their approach to faster-than-light travel and communication. New ships were built that could manipulate quantum fields, allowing for faster and more efficient interstellar travel. Communication systems were developed that could transmit information across vast distances in real time. And most importantly, the Empire learned to think on a galactic scale, coordinating their activities across thousands of star systems. But they never forgot the lesson of Kepler-442b. The galaxy was full of ancient mysteries, and some of them were better left undisturbed. The molehills had seemed like simple geological formations, but they had been components of a defensive system that had protected the galaxy for millions of years. "We're the Guardians now," Marcus said during the dedication ceremony for the new monitoring station. "The ancient civilization that built this system is gone, but their responsibility has passed to us." The monitoring station was established in orbit around the repaired Dyson sphere, its sensors constantly watching for signs of intrusion from the unknown vessels. It was staffed by volunteers from every species in the Empire, united in their commitment to maintaining the quarantine. "What do you think they are?" Dr. Kim asked, looking at the sealed portal nodes. "The unknown vessels, I mean." Marcus considered the question. The unknown vessels were clearly intelligent, but they were also fundamentally alien. Their organic technology suggested a different approach to existence, one that might be incompatible with life as the Empire knew it. "I think they're what we might become," Marcus said finally, "if we're not careful." The unknown vessels represented a form of existence that was purely predatory, consuming everything they encountered and converting it into more of themselves. They were the ultimate expression of expansion without purpose, growth without meaning. The ancient civilization understood that. Marcus continued. They built the quarantine not just to keep the unknown vessels out, but to remind themselves of what they were defending against. The Empire had learned that lesson well. The portal network remained sealed, but the knowledge gained from studying it had transformed their civilization. They had become something new, a galactic empire that was united not by conquest, but by the shared responsibility of protecting the galaxy from threats that came from beyond. As the years passed, the Empire continued to grow and evolve, but they never forgot the molehills of Kepler-442b. The simple formations had taught them that the galaxy was full of mysteries, and that some of those mysteries were better left undisturbed. The speed of light barrier had been broken, but at a cost. The Empire had gained incredible capabilities, but they had also inherited the responsibility of maintaining the quarantine that protected the galaxy from forces that sought to consume it. And in the depths of space, around the ancient star that powered the Dyson sphere, the monitoring station continued its eternal vigil, watching for signs that the unknown vessels might be finding new ways to break through the barriers that separated them from the galaxy's teeming life. The war for the galaxy's future was far from over, but the Empire was ready. They had learned from the ancient civilization's example, and they would not make the same mistakes. The molehills of Kepler-442b had shown them what was at stake, and they would not let the galaxy fall to the forces of consumption and chaos. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but it was also full of dangers. The Empire would face those dangers together, united by the knowledge that consciousness was precious and worth defending, no matter the cost. 5 years after the quarantine was established, the Empire faced a new crisis. Long-range sensors had detected similar portal networks in the Andromeda Galaxy, and they were beginning to show signs of activation. The unknown vessels had found another way to spread their influence across the cosmos. Dr. Marcus Reed stood in the briefing room of the Imperial Command ship Indomitable, surrounded by the Empire's most senior military and scientific leaders. The holographic display showed the Andromeda Galaxy, with dozens of worlds highlighted in red, each one showing the telltale signs of ancient portal technology. "The situation is worse than we initially thought," Marcus began, his voice heavy with the weight of the discovery. "The portal network we discovered isn't unique to our galaxy. It's part of a cosmic-scale defense system that spans multiple galaxies." Admiral Crow leaned forward, his expression grim. "How many galaxies are we talking about?" "Unknown, but at least 17 based on the quantum resonance patterns we've detected. The ancient civilization that built these systems was operating on a scale we can barely comprehend." The implications were staggering. If the portal networks existed in multiple galaxies, then the threat from the unknown vessels was far larger than anyone had realized. The Empire wasn't just defending their own galaxy, they were part of a cosmic war that had been raging for millions of years. "What's the status of the Andromeda networks?" asked Commander Thane, who had been promoted to head of Imperial Defense after his actions during the quarantine crisis. "They're beginning to activate," Dr. Kim reported from her position at the sensor station. "The same pattern we saw here, disruption of the quantum crystals, is causing the dormant systems to wake up." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "Who's mining in Andromeda?" "Multiple species," Admiral Crow replied. "The Zephyrians have established several colonies, and there are independent mining operations from dozens of different civilizations. Most of them don't even know what they're dealing with." The Empire faced a terrible choice. They could try to warn the Andromeda civilizations about the threat, but that would mean revealing the existence of the portal networks and the unknown vessels. Or they could act unilaterally, using their superior technology to shut down the mining operations and prevent the networks from fully activating. "We need to send an expedition," Marcus said. "A joint task force with representatives from all the major galactic civilizations. If we're going to prevent another outbreak, we need to work together." "The Zephyrians won't like that," Admiral Crow pointed out. "They consider Andromeda to be their sphere of influence." "Then we make them understand what's at stake," Marcus replied. "If the portal networks in Andromeda are fully activated, the unknown vessels will have access to 2 galaxies. We might not be able to contain them." The joint task force that was assembled was unlike anything in the Empire's history. Ships from dozens of different species worked together, their crews trained in the techniques that had been developed during the quarantine crisis. The diversity was staggering. Orc battleships flew alongside human research vessels, while Zephyrian cruisers coordinated with Krallite destroyers. "It's impressive," Dr. Kim observed as the task force prepared to depart for Andromeda. 5 years ago, these species were at war with each other. Now they're working together to defend the galaxy. Marcus nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. The portal networks in Andromeda were activating faster than expected, and the unknown vessels were already beginning to probe the weakened barriers between dimensions. The journey to Andromeda took 3 months, even with the Empire's advanced faster-than-light drives. When they arrived, they found a galaxy in chaos. The portal networks were fully active, and the unknown vessels had already begun their invasion. "My God!" whispered Commander Thane as he looked at the tactical display. "They're everywhere." The Andromeda galaxy was under siege. The unknown vessels had emerged from dozens of portal nodes, their organic ships spreading like a plague across the galaxy's spiral arms. Entire star systems had gone dark, their civilizations consumed by the alien invaders. "We're too late," Admiral Crow said grimly. "The invasion has already begun." But Marcus wasn't ready to give up. The portal networks in Andromeda were similar to the ones in their own galaxy, which meant they might be vulnerable to the same techniques that had been used to establish the quarantine. "We need to find the control center," Marcus said. "If we can shut down the Andromeda networks, we might be able to contain the invasion." The search for the control center took them to the heart of the Andromeda galaxy, where they found something that chilled them to the bone. The control center was already under attack, its ancient defenses overwhelmed by the unknown vessel's assault. "They're trying to take control of the network," Dr. Kim reported. "If they succeed, they'll be able to open portals to any galaxy they choose." The battle for the Andromeda Control Center was fierce and desperate. The Joint Task Force fought with everything they had, but the unknown vessels were more numerous and more advanced than ever before. They had learned from their previous defeat, adapting their tactics to counter the Empire's defenses. "We're losing," Commander Thane reported. "The unknown vessels are overwhelming our defenses." It was then that Marcus made a decision that would change the course of the war. "We're going to destroy the control center," he announced. "If we can't save it, we'll make sure the unknown vessels can't use it." The plan was audacious and dangerous. The control center was powered by the galaxy's central black hole, and destroying it would release energies that could be felt across the entire galaxy. But it was their only option. "Are you sure about this?" Admiral Crow asked. Destroying the control center will cut off Andromeda from the portal network permanently. The civilizations here will be isolated. Better isolated than consumed, Marcus replied grimly. The destruction of the Andromeda Control Center was accomplished using a specially modified quantum torpedo, designed to destabilize the black hole's gravitational field. The explosion was visible across the galaxy, a brilliant flash of light that marked the end of millions of years of ancient engineering. "It's done," Dr. Kim reported. "The portal network is offline. The unknown vessels are cut off from their home dimension." But the victory was Pyrrhic. The unknown vessels that were already in Andromeda were still active, and they had begun to adapt to their new environment. They were evolving, becoming more like the life forms they encountered. "They're learning," Marcus observed. "Adapting to the galaxy's conditions. They're becoming something new." The task force established monitoring stations throughout Andromeda, watching for signs of the unknown vessel's evolution. What they found was both fascinating and terrifying. The aliens were not just consuming the galaxy's life forms, but incorporating them into their own existence. "They're not just invaders," Dr. Kim realized. "They're explorers. They're trying to understand what makes life in this galaxy different from their own." The revelation changed everything. The unknown vessels weren't just mindless destroyers. They were intelligent beings who were trying to understand the nature of existence itself. Their consumption of other life forms was not malicious, but scientific. "That doesn't make them any less dangerous," Admiral Crow pointed out. "They're still destroying entire civilizations. But it means we might be able to communicate with them," Marcus said. "If they're trying to understand us, maybe we can help them find a way to coexist." The first attempt at communication was made in the ruins of a Zephyrian colony, where the unknown vessels had established what appeared to be a research facility. The task force approached cautiously, their weapons ready but not aimed. "This is Dr. Marcus Reed of the Galactic Empire," Marcus broadcast on all frequencies. "We wish to communicate with you." The response was immediate and overwhelming, a flood of images and sensations that spoke of vast intelligence and alien purpose. The unknown vessels were not just trying to communicate, but to share their entire experience of existence. "They're showing us their history," Dr. Kim gasped, her mind reeling from the alien contact. "They're from a galaxy that was consumed by something else. They're refugees, just like the civilizations they're consuming." The truth was more complex than anyone had imagined. The unknown vessels were not the original threat, they were the response to it. They had been created by a dying civilization to preserve their knowledge and experience, traveling between galaxies to find new forms of life to incorporate into their collective consciousness. "They're not trying to destroy us," Marcus realized. "They're trying to save us. In their own way." The communication continued for hours, with the unknown vessels sharing their knowledge of the cosmic threats that lurked in the void between galaxies. They spoke of entities that consumed not just matter and energy, but the very concept of existence itself. "The galaxy we saw destroyed," one of the unknown vessels explained, its voice echoing through dimensions that human minds could barely comprehend, "was not the first. There are things in the cosmic void that seek to unmake all of creation, to return the universe to the primordial emptiness that existed before the first stars were born." The implications were staggering. The unknown vessels were not invaders, but guardians, beings who had sacrificed their own existence to preserve the knowledge and experience of countless civilizations. They traveled between galaxies, incorporating new forms of life into their collective consciousness to ensure that the universe's diversity would not be lost. "But you're destroying the civilizations you're trying to save," Admiral Crow pointed out. "We preserve what matters," the unknown vessel replied. "The essence of consciousness, the pattern of thought that makes each being unique. Physical form is temporary, but knowledge and experience can last forever." The debate that followed was unlike anything in the Empire's history. The unknown vessels were offering to preserve the galaxy's civilizations by incorporating them into their collective consciousness. They promised that individual identity would be maintained, that the unique characteristics of each species would be preserved for eternity. "It's not death," the unknown vessel insisted. It's transformation. Evolution. The next step in the development of consciousness. But Marcus and his colleagues were not convinced. The unknown vessel's offer was seductive, but it was also asking them to give up everything that made them who they were. Physical existence might be temporary, but it was also essential to the experience of being alive. "We need time to consider your offer," Marcus said finally. "This is not a decision we can make lightly. Time is a luxury we do not have," the unknown vessel replied. "The entities that destroyed our galaxy are already spreading throughout the cosmic void. They will reach this galaxy cluster eventually, and when they do, all existence will end." The unknown vessels shared their knowledge of the cosmic destroyers, beings that existed in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on the energy of dying universes. They were not alive in any conventional sense, but they were intelligent, and they were driven by an insatiable hunger for existence itself. "They are coming," the unknown vessel warned. "The portal networks we open have attracted their attention. They know that this galaxy cluster is rich in life, and they are already beginning to move toward it." The task force found itself facing an impossible choice. They could join the unknown vessel's collective consciousness, preserving their knowledge and experience while giving up their physical existence. Or they could remain independent, facing the cosmic destroyers with their own limited resources. "How long do we have?" Marcus asked. "Perhaps 1,000 years," the unknown vessel replied. "Maybe less. The cosmic destroyers move slowly, but they are inexorable. Nothing can stop them once they begin to feed." The revelation changed everything. The Empire's expansion across the galaxy suddenly seemed insignificant compared to the cosmic threat that was approaching. The wars between species, the competition for resources, the struggle for power, all of it was meaningless in the face of entities that sought to unmake existence itself. "We need to prepare," Marcus said. "Not just our galaxy, but all the galaxies in the cluster. If we're going to survive this threat, we need to work together." The unknown vessels agreed to a temporary truce, allowing the task force to return to their own galaxy with the knowledge of the approaching threat. But they also made it clear that their offer of preservation would remain open. If the galaxy's civilizations chose to join them, they would be welcome in the collective consciousness. "Think carefully," the unknown vessel said as the task force prepared to depart. "Physical existence is beautiful, but it is also fragile. The collective consciousness we offer is eternal, indestructible. It is the only way to ensure that the galaxy's knowledge and experience will survive." The journey back to the Milky Way gave Marcus time to think about the impossible choice they were facing. The unknown vessels were offering immortality, but at the cost of everything that made life worth living. The cosmic destroyers represented the ultimate threat, but they were still 1,000 years away. "What do you think we should do?" Dr. Kim asked as they approached the edge of their home galaxy. Marcus looked out at the stars, each one representing billions of lives that would be affected by the decision they made. "I think we should live," he said finally. "Whatever happens, we should live as ourselves, not as memories in someone else's consciousness." The return to the Milky Way was met with mixed reactions. Some species were terrified by the news of the approaching cosmic destroyers, while others were intrigued by the unknown vessel's offer of immortality. The Empire found itself dealing with a crisis of confidence as civilizations struggled to understand the implications of the cosmic threat. "We need to unite the galaxy," Admiral Crowe said during an emergency session of the Imperial Council. "If we're going to face the cosmic destroyers, we need every species working together." But unity was easier said than achieved. The galaxy's civilizations had been at war for millennia, and the prospect of a distant threat was not enough to overcome generations of mistrust and hostility. Some species wanted to join the unknown vessel's collective consciousness, while others preferred to fight the cosmic destroyers with conventional weapons. "We need a new approach," Marcus said. "Something that unites the galaxy without requiring everyone to give up their independence." The solution came from an unexpected source. The portal networks that had been built by the ancient civilization were still functional, though they were currently sealed to prevent the unknown vessels from spreading. If those networks could be modified, they might provide a way to coordinate the galaxy's defenses against the cosmic destroyers. We could create a communication network, Dr. Kim suggested. Link every world in the galaxy with instantaneous communication. It would allow for unprecedented coordination of defensive efforts. The proposal was audacious and risky. Modifying the portal networks would require enormous resources and could potentially weaken the barriers that kept the unknown vessels contained. But it was also the only way to unite the galaxy's civilizations in time to face the cosmic threat. It's dangerous, Admiral Crow warned. If we weaken the quarantine, the unknown vessels could break through. But if we don't unite the galaxy, Marcus replied, the cosmic destroyers will consume everything anyway. The decision was made to proceed with the modification of the portal networks. The project would require the cooperation of every major civilization in the galaxy, and it would take decades to complete. But if it succeeded, it would create a unified defensive network that could coordinate the galaxy's response to the cosmic threat. We're gambling with the future of the galaxy, Commander Thane observed as the project began. We're fighting for the future of the galaxy, Marcus corrected. The unknown vessels offer preservation, but not life. The cosmic destroyers offer nothing but oblivion. We're choosing to live, whatever the cost. The modification of the portal networks was the largest engineering project in the galaxy's history. Species that had been enemies for millennia worked together, their combined knowledge and resources focused on the common goal of survival. It was a testament to the power of cooperation in the face of existential threat. As the project neared completion, Marcus found himself thinking about the molehills of Kepler-442b that had started it all. The simple formations had seemed so innocuous, but they had been the key to understanding the galaxy's greatest mystery. Now, those same formations were being transformed into components of a defensive network that would protect the galaxy from the ultimate threat. The network is ready, Dr. Kim announced. We can establish instantaneous communication with every world in the galaxy. The activation of the modified portal network was a moment of triumph and terror. The galaxy's civilizations were finally united in purpose, but they were also about to face a threat that had destroyed countless other galaxies. The cosmic destroyers were still approaching, and the battle for the survival of existence itself was about to begin. This is just the beginning, Marcus said as the network came online. The real test will come when the cosmic destroyers arrive. But for now, the galaxy was united. The molehills of Kepler-442b had revealed the existence of ancient defensive networks, and those networks had been transformed into the foundation of a galactic civilization. The speed of light barrier had been overcome, not through conquest, but through cooperation. The unknown vessel's offer of preservation remained open, but the galaxy's civilizations had chosen to face the future as themselves. They would live, they would fight, and they would defend the miracle of existence against the forces that sought to unmake it. The cosmic destroyers were coming, but they would not find the galaxy unprepared. The portal networks were active, the civilizations were united, and the defense of existence itself was about to begin.